got daisies and unicorns, and this is a Trailer Friday, everybody. Glad to welcome you in on this Friday. Hopefully you're listening on a Friday. Doesn't take too much. Check in with us on a Friday. Find out what we're going to be doing, on the full episode on Sunday. It's always good to know.
Always good to know.
Always.
Yeah. We get a few people who dabble with our trailers. Yeah. Not a lot.
Just stop in for a bit. We should probably look at trying to make sure we keep our trailers tight.
Tight
Like a tiger.
Oh.
I don't know.
Tight.
Yeah, so this is a Trailer Friday. We've got, so we're in season 9, and this is episode number 5. So we're in the mid-season of season 9. And with that, we're continuing to talk about conspiracy theories. We set it up. We brought out and highlighted a bunch of, the areas of conspiracy that we particularly like to dabble in. And this week, we talk about the absurd. And
we do.
It's good to talk about absurdities sometimes,
Absolutely absurd.
Right.
We're like, really? People believe this?
Yeah.
So, if I ever, come to the end of my life
of yourself,
as you know it,
yeah.
After we get done here, I'm going to tell you where I'm really going.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So one of the absurd things we talk about is people who have died who might still be alive.
Mm-hmm.
So,
in so many ways in which you can create conspiracies out of that as well, right? So, things that are unknown, and then you're like, ooh, let's, create the thread from there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So a conspiracy that's not really a conspiracy yet, but we may have just started it in this episode, has to do with alien crab men.
Right.
Yeah.
Crab people.
They come at you with their pinchers and they pinch your nose.
Right. Yeah. So South Park has had an episode or a couple episodes, and they brought in the idea of crab people kind of masking as people. But we've added some further kind of undertones to the crab people. So you'll have to listen on Sunday to find out what the undertones of the crab people are. So
yeah,
it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. So we do a whole list for you.
Yeah.
We do a whole list for you in regards to things that are on the list of conspiracy that seem absolutely absurd.
Yeah. And there is probably one that we're like, all right, maybe it didn't have to necessarily be attached to the absurd, but we throw it in there anyways, just for you, for you out there.
Yeah. It looks like our viewership, like in the first parts, I'm not sure, but it looks like our viewership is like, we've kind of beat this with a stick.
So people have been dropping off.
Yeah.
Let's find out about our audio drop off or increase. Maybe they like to listen to it and not watch it. Dun dun. Let's go to the podcast dashboard.
If you would ever disappear, people would realize that if the podcast continues, that I wouldn't have the interface to be able to get it to their ear holes.
Right. Only to their eye holes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely, we peaked at the conspiracy genres. And then it dropped
significantly.
Right. So maybe you're not even listening to this right now. Who knows? But I think that there's some levity in the absurd.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's the way that we would treat the absurd as well. So
I tell a joke in the episode. So if people want to hear a bad joke,
right,
they can listen.
Right.
And not bad like naughty.
Right.
But it's just very poorly done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
But I have another joke.
Oh, good.
All right. So I only know 2 jokes. The one I told on the episode and the one I'm going to tell you right now.
All right.
All right, here you go. What do you get when you goose a ghost?
Well, ghosts don't have substance, so when you goose a ghost, you come up with air.
No. I don't even know why we asked you.
I know. I'm trying to actually come up with an actual reason why.
The appropriate response to that joke is, I don't know. What do you get when you goose a ghost? And the answer is a handful of sheet.
There you go. A handful of sheet. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Because it brings in a little bit of the, play on.
Right. See what I did there? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Yep, for sure. That's a good Beggar's Night joke, Halloween joke, So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ho, ho, Halloween. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we've got that going on, and let's see, what else? Basically just catch up after a week of travel, and you know what? We're going to pull a Willie Nelson even this week, and I'm going to be on the road again.
On the road again?
Yep. Shout out to Project 52. They are trying to raise $50,000 for the roof of the emergency medical facility that we've been building for the last couple of years. And so,
very cool.
We have a golf event.
By the time,
where
is it at?
Wellsburg, Iowa.
Wellsburg.
Yeah. Apparently, I didn't know this. Secrets to fundraisers.
Yeah.
When you do golf events, isn't the golfers.
Sponsorship?
It's the silent auction and the sponsorship.
Yeah,
yeah, sponsorship. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, if you got some deep pockets out there and you want to contribute, you can go to Facebook and you can like as a friend or send a message to Pastor Bill Clark, William Clark. And he's also with, I think there's a Facebook page for Project 52. Mm-hmm. I think Project 52 is getting out of the tree planting projecting.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot has to do with the cost of fuel and just the proximity to the places to plant trees. And so, it's one of those things but the work in Dominican Republic continues on.
It continues on.
Yeah.
And of course, with any project, you need people to back it.
You do.
So,
Yep.
Yeah, so if you're interested, Project 52 is across the socials. You can check in there and find out.
Or shoot us an email.
Can connect.
They can shoot us an email, and we can put them in contact.
Sure.
With somebody. But yeah, I'm not going to golf. I'm going to be hands and feet.
There you go.
What does that mean? That means I'll carry stuff. That means I'll serve up food.
Maybe you're gonna caddy.
I don't think so. No.
That would be hands and feet.
It would be hands and feet.
You might actually even be a good caddy because of your knowledge of the game. So,
yeah, interesting part of technology that I picked up. There was I think it was the PGA Championship. They were letting the players use the sight finders for length and how far out. I think that they figured out that it helps with the speed of play is the reason. I think that that's a really bad idea. I think all the years that have gone on of people playing golf, that part of the challenge of golf is to estimate how far away you are and then be able, these pros are so precise anyway. If you can give them the actual, I'm within like 1 square foot of what I don't know. I'm not a fan. And that's not the first time I'm not a fan of technology.
So speaking of golf, I hear that there's there's things that are happening right now with, the LIV Saudi-backed golf people, and now they've decided to merge with the PGA and get rid of all the lawsuits between each other. And I hear that there's a lot of people that are not real happy with this, whether it was the people who stayed with the PGA and didn't jump into the absurd, money contracts that were being offered to, some of these top golfers, or if it's people who are now that went with the LIV or live and have decided to come back. I mean, they have to come back because now they're merging. But there's a lot of issues still between these two groups that people are pretty upset about. What's your thoughts on the merging together of these people, these two groups?
Well, you're dropping a bomb on me.
Oh,
right now, because I was not aware of this merger.
Yeah, I know part of the issue where people were saying that they didn't want to go over to the LIV was because it was Saudi-backed and there were some definite human rights infringements that surround the Saudi princes. And so there was a lot of issues with that in the first place, and now they're like, oh, and now we're going to merge together. Well, what does that merger look like?
Okay, so here's what's going on. Mm-hmm. The PGA and the LIV or LIV, they are not combining. They're creating a new entity.
Oh.
The new entity is called NUCO. And DP World Tour, the PGA Tour is going to still remain nonprofit organization that retains full control over how its tournaments are played. But all the PGA Tour's commercial business and rights, such as the extremely lucrative rights to televise its tournaments, would be owned by a new, still to be named for profit that is currently called NUCO. And so the new would be led by Yasser Al-Rumayyan, who is the governor of the Public Investment Fund and also oversees LIV. 3 other board members, executive, not yet. It's not. It has to be approved by PGA Tour's policy board. So who knows?
So if you were sitting on the policy board, what would your advice or even possible vote be for the rest of the group?
Well, the whole thing on why LIV got such a backlash had to do with, human rights, mm-hmm. or basically the care for humans. Like people were dying and disappearing, and women's rights, and all of this stuff. I'm not a fan, but right now, LIV has the PGA tied up in a bunch of lawsuits.
Right.
And I again, this is probably refreshing to most people who've never heard me say this. I don't have a clue what any of the details are. Meaning that I don't know if it had to do with libel or slander or with what was going on there. But, mm-hmm. A lot of these players that left the PGA to go to LIV then were told that they wouldn't be able to come back. But then there were certain places where they could come back. And then, and I heard, man, one commentator just went off at the end of the PGA Championship, because the PGA Championship was won by a guy who played, he left and went to live. But because he had won 2 other PGA Championships in the past, see, there's the thing where it gets very nuancy. Like Phil Mickelson could play at the Masters. Why? Because he's won a Masters. And once you're part of that club, it's totally different. Now, it'll be interesting. The U.S. Open is, I think we're getting ready for, excuse me, the opening round of the U.S. Open, which is a really interesting golf thing, because anyone in the United States can enter the Open. It's totally open. And I think that's kind of like a tin cup thing, like Kevin Costner, Rene Russo,
right?
Tin Cup. I think it had to do with he qualified in Texas and then was in at the Open and lost his mind, but fell in love, right? And so, but I tell you what, in some of these guys were struggling in the PGA, whether it was because of age or because of their game, because of their head, because of whatever. But they got a huge payday, and the thing is they got big money to come, and then the purses, because this is all oil money backed money or competitions. But it is basically, my boiled on point is it was like Gladiator. Like, hey, let's bring in these big guns, and they'll be the entertainers, and all of the Saudi princes are able to be there, and it's like, hey, we're gonna buy Hollywood to come over here and be here, and stuff like that. Now, the golfers, they're great golfers. I mean, they put on a good show, and there's a part in all of that can you blame them when they're getting paid millions?
Right.
But the affront is, but when you take millions from people who are horrible to other humans, what does that make you?
Right.
Guilty by association,
complicit, or
that you actually are in favor of the act and the action. So lots of great questions. I think that the merger that is happening, I bet I hear more about it as I watch golf this weekend.
I'm sure you will.
But it is totally a business deal on trying to get all of this stuff. Like, how much money are they going to lose going to court and and things like that? And I don't know. I think it's interesting. And if we wanted to start a conspiracy about it, I bet somebody's got hooks into some people who are in control and power, and there was a back office deal that was done with something being held over somebody's head, and this is the way it's going to go down. So and then there's the Ryder Cup, and there's this thing about the guy who won the PGA Championship and whether he'd be able to be on the Ryder Cup team, and how all of that. And our little buddy who went to Drake College is like the Ryder Cup captain, and he wouldn't say whether he would let the other guy be there. And then in the Ryder Cup, the European team loaded up their team with people from LIV. And so then there was this, just cry of unfair, how can you let these people do that, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, the reality is they play baseball in China. That doesn't make them Chinese baseball players. That doesn't mean that they're in the American League or the National League, but it's not that they don't play baseball
right
for sport and entertainment. And so, like, there's a part of this that if these acts against humanity are so great, then why hasn't the U.S. stop trade and, but we're talking about the Saudis and how does it all come back to? It's about keeping the oil, flowing to the U.S. and things like that. So, how do I feel about it? Me personally, I'm not a fan. There's some players that I am a fan of, and that play live, but I don't know. And quite frankly, the other thing that it just popped into my head, golf isn't an American sport. It came from over the big sea, over the lake, over the pond, as they say. And so I don't think we have the only claim on what should, be happening in other countries. Like there's that other part, I mean, like, hey, this is in the U.S. and this is U.S. competition and these are the U.S. rules. Okay, cool. Check. Somebody wants to go to Japan and play in the Japanese tour. Let them play there if they, they qualify and they, but I mean, it can't, the other thing can't be argued is that we have a wealth of land at our disposal that we stole from the Indians. And, the courses that have been designed and built here in the United States are very, very nice. And on the flip side, if you want to go golf in Scotland, you can. If you want to golf in Australia, they've got golf courses there too. The rules of the game are the rules of the game, but I think this is a cover up.
Yeah, so there's a lot yet to be discovered through this process, even though they may announce a merger, but it's definitely not complete, and so there's a lot left to learn.
Yeah, and it's got to go through a vote. I think this is just like this is very, very interesting.
Yes. Fascinating things at work in the world today. So that's what we bring to you on this Trailer Friday is Steve's perspective on the game. I'm a casual observer. I see lots of, I heard the news story this morning, and then I read a news story about just some of the overarching themes, like why people are angry, or why their people might be hurting through it. So, yeah. So there you go, everybody. Trailer Friday. You get to go down a rabbit trail too, and also figure out, is this a conspiracy theory that can be involved with this LIV and PGA merger? So
somebody asked the question, I see a photo of former President Donald J. Trump up there. Is he involved in this? Yes, though not directly. The Trump Organization owns golf courses around the world and has for years sought to host major tournaments on its properties. Those efforts suffered a setback after the January 6th attack on the Capitol by pro-Trump mob, as the golf establishment distanced itself from the former president. Most significantly, the PGA of America pulled the 2022 PGA Championship from the Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey. But Trump had cultivated unusually close ties to Saudi Arabia while in office, and Saudi-backed LIV had no problems embracing him. Last year, 2 LIV events were held at Trump courses, and this year there will be 3. Trump's son, Eric, said that the agreement between LIV and the PGA Tour was a wonderful thing for the game of golf, and that he expected tournaments to continue to be held at Trump-owned courses. He declined to comment on whether the Trump family played any role in bringing the two parties together.
So that's another dimension of how this is going to play out as well, because if Trump's involved, then he's going to be vocal.
Oh, man.
He's going to tell everybody that it was him.
Yeah. Hoorah. All right, everybody. Well, we're leaving you with that thought. And just remember, if you think golf is an elitist sport that is only meant for the rich and for the privileged, I can't argue that at all.
It's a good place to land right there. Can't argue. All right, everybody. Have a good Friday and a good rest of the weekend. We'll see you on Sunday for the full episode. Conspiracy Absurdities.
How absurd. Take care, everybody.
See ya.